All right, let's talk about Latin America and the Caribbean. Because right now, in 2026, the entire region is standing at a massive crossroads. It's getting squeezed between some really deep, old challenges from within and these powerful new forces from the outside world. We're going to break down what that all means.
And this really gets us to the central paradox of the whole situation. How can a region feel so stuck, so trapped by its own history, but at the exact same time become more important to the rest of the world than maybe ever before? It's this incredible tension between stagnation and opportunity, and honestly, the outcome is going to affect millions and millions of people.
So first up, let's unpack what we mean by the trap. It's really a two-headed monster. An economy that's just not growing fast enough, and a society with some of the deepest inequality on the planet.
This number pretty much tells the whole story of the region's economy right now. That's the projected GDP growth for 2026. And the thing is, as institutions like the World Bank have pointed out, this is the fourth year in a row of this kind of sluggish performance. Growth like this, it's just not enough to really lift people out of poverty or create the kinds of opportunities everyone is hoping for. It's just treading water.
But, that slow growth is only half the problem. The trap gets so much deeper, and honestly, a lot more personal, when you start asking who actually benefits from the little growth there is. It's one thing for the whole pie to grow slowly. It's another thing entirely when most people don't even get a crumb.
And wow, this slide really lays it bare. Just look at these numbers. According to the data, the wealthiest 10% of people take home over a third of all the income in the region. Now look at the other side. The poorest 10%, they're living on just 1.7%. It is a staggering gap, and it's what makes Latin America the most unequal region on the entire planet, besides sub-Saharan Africa.
And here's the really crucial part. These aren't just separate issues. They're all locked together in this vicious cycle. See, sky-high inequality makes it almost impossible for people to climb the ladder. That erodes trust in society, which naturally makes businesses hesitant to invest. That leads to weak productivity, which, you guessed it, leads right back to slow growth. It is the textbook definition of a trap. Okay, so that's the trap. It's deep and it's complicated. But here is where the story takes a massive turn. At the very moment these internal problems feel more stuck than ever, the rest of the world is suddenly knocking on the door with a whole new level of interest. And that's creating a huge new opportunity. In a world that feels like it's fracturing, with all these geopolitical tensions, those super long, complicated supply chains that crisscross the globe, well, they've started to look like a huge risk. So the big global powers are rethinking everything. They want their essential goods made in places that are stable and, just as importantly, nearby. And this has given rise to a brand new buzzword, friendshoring. It's a pretty simple idea, really. You move your manufacturing and your supply chains to countries that aren't just close geographically, but are also friendly, politically aligned nations. And for the US and its allies, well, Latin America has suddenly shot right to the top of that list.
So why all the sudden interest? Well, because the region is basically a treasure trove of the exact things the world needs right now. We're talking critical minerals like lithium and copper for the green transition. It's an agricultural powerhouse that can feed the world. It's got major energy reserves. And you add in the fact that it's right next door to the US market and is, relatively speaking, a zone of peace, you can see why it's suddenly so incredibly important.
Let's just take one example to hammer this home. Lithium. It's in everything. Your phone, your laptop, and especially in electric vehicle batteries. A mind-blowing 50%, a full half, of the entire world's known lithium resources are right here, in Latin America. That gives the region an unbelievable amount of leverage in the global shift to green energy.
And of course, all this strategic value has turned the region into a major arena for the competition between the United States and China. For the US, it's all about resilience and security, making sure its supply chains are safe and close to home. For China, it's about resources, securing a long-term flow of raw materials and funding the ports and roads needed to get them.
So you've got this massive collision of forces, right? This internal trap of stagnation and inequality is slamming right into this external wave of opportunity and competition. And it is all coming to a head right now, in 2026. This is a year where some truly enormous decisions have to be made. And there are two huge things happening this year that are going to determine which path the region goes down. First, there's a packed calendar of absolutely critical presidential elections. And second, there's a super high-stakes review of North America's most important trade agreement. I mean, just look at the selection schedule.
You can see all these tensions playing out in real time. All across the continent, from Costa Rica and Peru to Colombia and Haiti, voters are heading to the polls to decide on these core issues of security, stability, and corruption. And then you've got the region's biggest player, Brazil, where the election is going to come down to fundamental questions about its entire economic model and where it stands in the world.
And this quote from America Society/Council of the Americas just nails the mood on the ground. People everywhere are fed up with rising crime and instability, and that frustration could easily push voters toward candidates who are promising a tough law and order approach, which could radically shift the political direction of several countries.
Okay, so that's the politics. Now let's talk about the other huge event, the official review of the US-Mexico-Canada trade deal, the USMCA. The process is already underway with a really important deadline coming up in July. And let me tell you, this isn't just some routine paperwork. This is a moment of truth for the entire North American economic partnership.
And let's be really clear about something. This review is about so much more than just taxes on goods. This is where all those big picture forces we've been talking about collide. It's about friendshoring, it's about competing with China's influence, it's about securing critical technology. The decisions made here are going to draw the economic map for North America for the next generation.
So, where does this all leave us? Let's try to tie this all together. As we move through 2026, the region is basically being pulled in two completely opposite directions. On one side, you have the heavy anchor of its past, that cycle of slow growth and deep inequality. But on the other, you have this incredible moment of global importance, this massive potential for the future.
The choices being made this year, in those voting booths and at those negotiating tables, they're going to be absolutely pivotal. Which leads us to the one final, huge question. Can Latin America take this moment, this new strategic importance, and use it to finally break free from those old cycles of stagnation and inequality? The whole world is watching to see what happens next.